Can you read that? It was your 11th birthday yesterday. Didn't get a chance for various reasons to do this update on the day of your birthday. You know, things happen, been busy, mostly to do with mum's health. But last time I did a yearly update, I was at Kim's, and the reason I was at Kim's was because I didn't know what was actually happening with mum. And despite the fact that I reported mum's ongoing health issues to adult social care, older person's mental health, her doctor, and even the police got involved at one point, nothing was really getting done, and it was doing my head in with the lack of support. And in the end, I thought, you know, I'm just going to stay at someone's house for a while until mum actually forces herself to go and make a phone call and get some help, because she can't live on her own. But on this occasion, she just didn't. My sister and my nephew sort of like tried to help her out or whatever, but you know, things got progressively worse. And when I came back to mum's house about 6 days later, nothing had really changed. But so I stayed at Kim's for about 6 days. Ended up having to come back because, you know, the place isn't really big enough for 3 people, and I was in her son's room, and herself and her son were in her own room, so not really ideal, so I went back. But over a course of about 2 months, Kim seemed to show no interest in my struggle with mum. On a cold Friday, I walked around Portsmouth in between shifts, not wanting to go home. I actually passed Kim's house along the way, and although Kim wouldn't have been in her house at that time because she would have been at work, I just remember thinking, she hasn't shown an interest in me in about 2 months. And at this moment in time, I don't feel, you know, as if I needed to go somewhere for a bit of respite. I could go around her house. Anyway, she eventually got in contact with me when she heard on the grapevine that I had my first COVID jab. She wanted to know if I had any issues. Still hadn't asked about mum. And in the end, I just responded to her. I said that during the last couple of months, I said I've had people coming into the shop, whether they be customers, whether they be people I knew, whether it be fellow carers or some of work colleagues, all asking me how I was and how mum was doing. And during the course of 2 months, Kim hadn't asked me at all, and I was quite upset by that. So I sort of challenged her on this. I said, why have you just not literally given me the cold shoulder over the last couple of months? And all she said was, you knew that I didn't have a phone contract or whatever it is for a month, and that's why. And she seems a bit upset that of what I was accusing her of. And then from that moment on, she decided to delete me off Facebook. Now, when I lived at Kim's house for about 6 days, I can actually walk from her place to my place of work in 3 minutes. And I'm thinking that, you know, if you really were interested in me as a friend, it wouldn't have been that difficult for you to get a message to me, and you also pass where I work 5 days a week. So it's not that complicated. But for whatever reason, I can't explain why, she wasn't interested. So she still keeps my friend Joanne and Ben on Facebook, but not me. And I've just had to respect her wishes, but I'm not entirely happy about it. It's not a great sort of like people are banning you in your hour of need, but that's what's happened. And what I haven't covered in this is the fact that during the course of my friendship with her, she self-isolated on 2 separate occasions, believing that she had COVID because she had some health issues herself. And I don't know if you remember, you probably don't, but other people may tell you that the police were very strict in the early days of COVID. Like, people would like come and speak to you if they saw you in a small group with other people, almost like telling you to get back home. If you were self-isolating, everyone in your house had to self-isolate. So, and it was what I was doing. I was taking food to Kim's house, knocking on her door, standing a distance away, you know, just making sure that she was fed and whatever. And the reason why I was doing this was Kim was from Holland. She met a man working for a company in Rotterdam where she lived. He was an English guy who lived in Portsmouth. They had a relationship, and later on she decided to move to Portsmouth with her son to Portsmouth. However, she then found out that he was into a lot of illegal things, and she then decided to move out of where they live, effectively making herself homeless. So she sort of lived in a refuge for a while, and it would have been quite difficult for her because she was effectively homeless. So because there was a possibility that she might have COVID or whatever, and because she had a young son living in this country, and she had no friends or anything like that, I thought it was important to support her during her time in need or whatever, because if anything happened to her son would be completely isolated in an unfamiliar country with no backup support. She had no friends here, and she left behind all her friends and small group of family or whatever out in Holland. So I thought it was important to support her. But after I moved out of her house after being there for 6 days, I didn't get much support myself, and I desperately needed it. I think she also said something about, she understands me supporting Ben during his hour of need when his dad had passed away or was about to die at that point. But, yes, I was supporting Ben, but I still needed help myself and I wasn't getting it. So that was that. Anyway, let's move on from that. I did sort of report Mum's health issues to a variety of people, as I said, but older person's mental health felt that she had enough degree of capacity. So because Mum wasn't given consent to a head x-ray or agree to receive medication or whatever, they couldn't do anything, so they backed off. So what happened was, as Mum's mental decline continued, I was pretty much left on my own. Hence why I needed people like Kim around. Anyway, as I said, Ben's dad passed away in February, and that was quite a sad time. After the funeral, Joanne and I helped Ben decorate Ben's living room. The reason being is we kind of thought that it wouldn't be ideal for him to treat this place like a glorified shrine. In order for Ben to move on, he had to make this place his own. I mean, as I talk, he hasn't really done an awful lot with his dad's bedroom because he finds it difficult to come into. But I think as time develops or whatever, Ben will slowly be able to get this place sorted. But I mean, it's quite a bit of a mess at the moment. But it looked like a bomb site after his dad died, and he is slowly getting it together. It just, he'll get it done in his own good time. Right, what next have we got to talk about? After we finished decorating Ben's living room, we went back to Portsmouth because the day after it was my birthday, and me, Joanne and Ben, we went to a place called Mozzarella Joe's, which is on the coast. It's now called the Beach Club, which Joanne refuses to go to because it no longer does her mega fries. Basically, it's just like a place that does burgers, really, or it did. I'm not sure what it does now. Never really checked out the menu as such. But we went there. Then in the evening, Joanne went home, and me and Ben went to a place called Titchfield Mill, which your mum was the first person to take me there. Anyway, yes, due to sort of COVID restrictions, Ben's dad's death and Mum's health issues, June the 26th marked the first decent day of the year. That just shows you how bad the year is. We went to Salisbury. We really like Salisbury because it's got like a big market there. And I think because restrictions were being eased or whatever, we went there, and the market was quite big. The shops were all open. When we turned up, there was like a busker. He was like dressed in a Spider-Man costume playing the drums. We thought he was really good. We also sort of had a meal while we were there, and we had a sort of coffee or whatever it was outside Salisbury Cathedral. It was a really lovely day, and we did go back there later on in the year. It was absolutely poured down with rain or whatever, and they were actually sort of giving away like was it? I think like punnets of strawberries for £1, or I think like 3 punnets of strawberries for £1 because no one was going near the market because they were going to get drenched. But yeah, second time not all that great. In July, was it on July the 12th, Joanne and I got a hovercraft to ride on the Isle of Wight. Sorry, on the Isle of Wight ferry to see Isle of Wight ferry. Let's start that again, shall we? Me and Joe went to the Isle of Wight to ride, where we met Ben. Joanne only stayed for a few hours, but I stayed for 2 nights. While there, we walked around Sandown, where Ben's mum lives, and had a meal in Ventnor. On other days, Ben showed me around Newchurch, where he grew up in, and went for a walk along Culver Downs. We also went to a place called Arran Barnes, or something like that. I didn't really like it. I suffered with something called de Quervain's tendonitis, which I suffered before, as far back as 2012. De Quervain's tendonitis is something you get in your wrist, and it basically prevents you being able to flex your wrist. So, you know, if you do move your wrist, you are in an awful lot of pain. So, because I'd had it before, I was like doing physiotherapy, which I downloaded off the internet, but it wasn't healing quickly enough, and I was still having to go to work. So, I went to the doctors and asked for a steroid injection into my wrist, which he gave me. I had a week and a half off work, followed by a week's holiday. So, yeah, I wasn't off for too long, but it's quite painful. In September, me and Ben went to Devon for the first time on our first ever caravan holiday. We were joined in a different caravan by Neil, Rachel and Samantha. We stayed in a place called Exmouth and spent time in Exeter, Dawlish, Warren, Torquay and Babbacombe. Exmouth, I should sort of point out, you know, the caravan park is incredibly hilly, and like wherever you walk, you do feel like, you know, the muscles are really struggling in your knees. Exmouth, where we were based, had a nice little beach called Sandy Bay, but there's nothing to do there, but it's quite pretty. And if you go for a walk along the coast, you end up at sort of another part of Exmouth, but there's not much to do there either. So it's very sort of naff. We also went to Exeter, but Samantha and Rachel wanted to do their own thing, so they split off, and me, Ben and Neil just sort of walked around. Can't say we really had a great time, but we did sort of go to the Quay area, which was quite nice, and we stayed there for most of the afternoon and evening, to be honest, and then the girls joined us later on in the evening. We went to Dawlish the following day, and me and Ben just went to Dawlish and we just walked around, and that was quite nice. I had a double chocolate scone, which was a chocolate scone with Nutella on. That was a bit unusual, but quite nice. When you're in Devon or Cornwall, you've got to go for these things. Me and Ben then went to Torquay, but because we were late in getting there, we didn't spend enough time there. And the moment we sat down and had a drink, we were getting up and going to a place called Babbacombe, where they have like this big model village. They seem to like it quite a bit. It's not really my thing. You probably would have liked it, actually, to be fair. Yeah, it was quite nice. And then we ended up sort of like having a bag of chips or whatever on top of this hill, which was quite nice. It's a bit weird because this chippy that we went to actually sold wine and beer. I've never come across that before. And what else do we do? Oh yeah, that was it really. I'm not a very good holiday guide, am I? Next, in November, Ben and I went to Liverpool for a few days. While in Liverpool, we went to the British Music Museum, NQ64, which was like a retro video gaming bar where they actually served like cocktails or whatever. That was quite good. place called Junkyard Golf, which was like a sort of like is it mini golf or crazy golf sort of thing. Yeah, that was quite good. I think our one was sort of based a bit on Only Fools and Horses, because you actually saw the van in there. I don't know why I mentioned that reference. You won't get that because you're too young, a bit before your time. There was a place called Point Blank we went to, which was like a shooting range, but it was like a light gun sort of thing that you'd aim at a TV screen or whatever. That was quite good for an hour. We walked around Albert Dock, which was where This Morning used to be filmed, long before you were born. We also went to Liverpool FC to do a stadium tour and sailed on the River Mersey, where it was quite cold and the water was brown. We had day trips in Manchester and Blackpool. We didn't mind Blackpool. It was just nice to walk up and down 2 of the 3 piers. It was very, very windy at that time of year. Went in a few shops, had some chips, had a roast dinner, watched some football on the TV. There isn't really much to say about our experience in Blackpool, but it was quite nice. We did go to Manchester as well, but neither of us really liked it. We were intending to spend 2 days in Manchester, and I think by midday we were sick of the place. We went on a Manchester United stadium tour. We went to the Arndale Centre, went for a meal at Turtle Bay, and that's about as exciting as it gets. I should also point out that I think I've actually lost my passport while I was in Liverpool. I was told to bring my passport with me as proof of who I was. I never saw anyone while I was there. I didn't need to bring my passport, and now I've lost it, so I have to report it stolen. Happy days. Okay, Joanne, Ben and I went to Winchester Cathedral and Winchester Christmas Market in December. I haven't been there for years, actually. I think it was probably cancelled last year, but I think everyone went there. You can't really move. It wasn't. It would have been good if there weren't so many people. But yeah, it was all right, I suppose. Not too bad. What else can I talk about? Prior to going to Bristol for a weekend with Ben and Joe, Mum's health issues were getting worse. She was like banging on apart from banging on walls, she actually believed she'd lost her purse. She got into this pattern of taking her purse up to bed with her because she thought that they kept on asking her for money next door. So she started taking her purse up to bed. But one day she didn't take her purse up to bed. She forgot. She woke up about 1 o'clock in the morning, got very distressed. She couldn't find her purse. And she then came downstairs, couldn't find it because she thought it'd be in the bag where she normally keeps it. And couldn't find it, and she started banging on the neighbour's door at 1 o'clock in the morning because she believed that there was a girl in her room with her, which there never was. She then tried to phone the police, but I disconnected the cable so she couldn't get through, and eventually went to bed after she'd found her purse. However, there was £200 missing from her purse because she folded the £200 up and put it in a bag that she normally keeps her purse in, which I later found the following morning. But I got fed up trying to reason with her or whatever, and while I was in bed she actually fell over, and when I came downstairs to try and pick her up, that's where I found her purse. The following day I found the money. But it was getting very distressing times. So yeah, we then went to a few days later we then went to Bristol. We stayed in an Airbnb, and that's the first time I've done that. It was really nice. We stayed around a place called Bedminster, which is just ideal for doing a little basic shop or whatever. There's a couple of few cafes there. We went in one of them. But while in Bristol, we went to a place called Cribbs Causeway, a big, massive retail park. not really my cup of tea. And then we later went to a, more my thing, the local shopping centre called Cabot Circus, where they had a Christmas market, and had a good walk around the shops. We really liked it around there. We also went to Clifton Suspension Bridge, and that was really nice. We really did like that. We took quite a lot of photos as well. The following day, we went to Bath. Have not been to Bath since 2009. And I always thought Bath was quite small, but when we got there, we found an awful lot to do. Apparently, the Christmas market was cancelled, but bizarrely, there was one there. There was loads of little independent coffee shops, so it was nice trying to find all those. I really love Bath, and I would happily go there again. Probably would go there at Christmas sometime, but yeah, I really enjoyed that. If you've never been to Bath, go. But actually, to be fair, you live nearer to Bath than I do, so maybe you have been. And I would say that leading up to going to Bristol, I was getting a bit agitated because, with Christmas approaching or whatever, I am aware that I'm still missing you after all this time. And I kept on thinking about popping over into Barry or whatever to see you. But then, like what happened in 2017, your mum spotted me immediately and it became incredibly difficult. So, and plus, I feel that, you wouldn't want to see me. I think you probably feel rejected by me, even though I hadn't. I was just never allowed to see you. So, I just didn't do anything, as per bloody usual. Sorry. Mum went into hospital before Christmas, about a week before Christmas, and she didn't come out until New Year's Eve. So I was never looking forward to Christmas anyway, spending it with a woman who, has been, as of New Year's Eve, been diagnosed with vascular dementia. Now, I did a little bit of read up about vascular dementia, and basically the average age once diagnosed is around about 5 years. Basically, it is a lack of blood flow to the brain, and usually the death is a stroke or heart attack. So I'm going to have some fun times ahead, not just waiting for her to die, but also watching her, disappear from me. I mean, I kind of feel that I've done a lot of grieving for my mum, but the mother I have now is not the mother I had. And I think it's quite hard. I think I found a meme ages ago saying one of the hardest things you can do is grieve for someone who haven't died. And I interpreted that as grieving for you, even though you're still alive, but it can also mean other things. And with mum, it's like I've grieved for someone who I lost ages ago, because the mum I've got now is not the mum. It's not my mum. She's just not there, She doesn't even know what day it is at the moment. I got her a pill box for her to arrange all her pills in. I've even arranged her pills for her, and it's all very well sort of saying, okay, I better go and take my pills. Have I taken my pills? What day is it? And I can't be there to give them to her. And even if I had given them to her, she wouldn't have remembered that she'd taken them. So this just goes around in circles. So in the end, I spent Christmas Day and Boxing Day with my niece at home. Our local hospital banned visitors, so I saw my mum once in about 2 weeks because they locked down the hospital before Christmas. So that isolated the patients. Elderly don't really like being separated from their loved ones, do they? Because they're just surrounded by people they don't know. And she got discharged on New Year's Eve, and they didn't bring back all her CPAP oxygen equipment, so I had to go back there on New Year's Day, and I was bounced around 5 different wards. So even though I'm not actually allowed in the hospital to visit anyone, I ended up on about 5 different wards trying to get this bit of equipment that would allow mum to use it and use her oxygen machine at night. So that was fun. I should also point out that I also worked on Boxing Day, because before mum got ill again, I didn't really want to sort of spend time with mum too much at Christmas, so I needed an excuse to get away. So I thought I'd work on Boxing Day instead of somebody else. And then what happened? My mum wasn't at home anyway, because she was in hospital for 2 weeks. That's the second time in about 5 years that's happened. So that is the year that was. Very depressing. There hasn't been a lot of positive that come out of this year. Mum's got worse. I've lost someone I considered a friend. Ben's lost his dad. And I don't like working at the moment because I don't like my new area manager or my or how the company's treating us. But what can you do? Anyway, I do hope one day you'll start trying to find me, and maybe you'll find this. But as depressing as it sounds, I Facebook search you about 2 or 3 times a week, and I never see anything new. And I can't come and visit you while, you know, your mum is old enough to look after you. And all I can do is wait until you're old enough before you decide that maybe you want to find me. But if you've been brainwashed into thinking I don't want to see you, then why would you come looking for me if you think I'm going to reject you? I won't, but I don't want to see you with your mum. Because I'm not saying your mum is to blame for my mum's health or anything like that, but what I would saying is if I was allowed to have seen you on a regular basis, it would have meant me dealing with my mum's health more bearable. I've had to deal with the loss of you and the loss of my mum. And at the moment, my life doesn't really have any purpose. I go to work, I come home and I can't relax. I go to work, I come home and I can't relax. And I'm in an endless loop and I have nothing to look forward to. COVID means we don't have any overseas holidays. I don't have any enthusiasm for arranging holidays anyway because of what's gone on before. And I just want to be free from everything. But not a day goes by where I think about you. And Christmas and Halloween are probably the worst times of the year for me because there are far too many memories. And obviously your birthday isn't great for me either because it's just another year past and another year I'm not seeing you. Anyway, this is depressing as per usual. Please find me. Love, Dad.